Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester. And I'm sure you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic the Practical Way because there are a lot of practicalities to manifesting the lives that we choose, and we have to understand that, right? We live in a very practical realm, right? And so we have to pay attention to the practicalities in this realm. It's very tangible. There are, physical things, people, places, environments that have to coordinate. And in order to make that go with some ease, with all the billions of people we have, there's practicalities, unfortunately. Or fortunately, whatever. Um, a message just popped up on my screen. My daughter said I couldn't even see the score on a PSAT is that good. So I'm going to look up that as soon as I'm done with this video. But I love that she's taken control of her own destiny now. Like she really sees the importance of focusing on something and taking it seriously. Last night she just said about track that she's been hating the whole year. And she reached her peak with hating it. And she kind of came down and she's just like, you know what? I'm going to stay in track. I found out that I'm really like kind of fast and I'm like above average. And I'm like, goodness gracious. But she said, and also, I think it's time for me to work hard for something, so I can see what the results are. And I'm like, good. Because when you put them in stuff when they're young, you're doing it. I put them, they were in ballet, they were in hip hop dance, they were in soccer, they were in robotics, they were in programming, homeschooling. Like when you're pushing them to do things, it's different. But when they actually start, like I would put even my daughter in art school. She complained about art school the whole time she had to go. And then now she's like, that it was so good. I learned so much in that class. And I'm like, whatever. But and then she's just like, now that the World Cup is gone, she's like, why did you let me quit soccer? Like I could have been so good by now. Children are crazy. Anyway, that really veered off my topic. Nonetheless, what I want to talk about today is that, that actually is kind of the topic. Well, kind of in a way. I was watching something on YouTube or whatever, and the person who was talking about when people walk around wishing that they were in some type of olden days or having this false nostalgia about the way things used to be. I always think that when people talk about the 90s or the 80s, and I'm looking underneath videos and they're like, it was so great and amazing. I'm like, you're talking about like crack and gun violence and like all these things were always taking place in society. We always had really rough group of people acting out in any given time in any society. So I think we have access to the information about it way more easy now, but I don't think people act so much different. And I don't even think you can say that incarceration rates can reflect that because now incarceration is based on people, giving free labor to corporations. So, I mean, I don't really know. I don't really know what people are doing in society, but I know that if you want a peaceful existence, you can definitely manifest one. I can guarantee that. Um, but nonetheless, they were talking about how people have this false nostalgia about remembering things the way they used to be and how great life was and what they used to, the size they used to wear, or, the parties they used to go to, how long their hair used to be, just the little glory days in high school, how they were so popular and this and that. And he was saying how it's kind of sad when he hears it because he's just like, they're kind of saying that their best days were behind them. And I was like, man, that's kind of true. Like, and I was like, is there anywhere in my life where I do that? Because while I liked and enjoyed high school and friends and people that I've had along my journey, I think that every year or moment or, my life gets better and better and better in so many different ways, whether it's personal growth, whether it's the connections that I've made, whether it's career, whether it's personal projects, whether it's my relationship with my children, whether it's my personal relationship with my partner, all these things, or with my family or my physical body. Like I have these times when there's something that's always getting better and better. So I rarely look back and think, oh, that. But then I thought about a big, huge area where I've been doing this, and I can clearly see where it's holding me up and making me feel stagnated, like energetically. And this is based on my daughters because when they were between the ages of 1 and 3 years old, that's when I got divorced. And so I wind up, going all in. The blessing that I had in that is that I was married and we did buy a house during that time. We did buy a car, and like we owned a few things. So like the pulling apart at that time, while it was very emotionally and spiritually very tough, the physical part of it wasn't super stressful. And we won't go into details about that anyway, but it was, yeah, it was kind of they were very young. And so I had a master's degree already, and I was already working in teaching, and I was already creating my own schedules to some degree, and I was doing work for this college, that college, and all this kind of stuff. And it worked really well when the kids were little. And I didn't have this at first. I had a regular 9 to 5, but I was like, I'm going on faith. I'm about to quit. This is gonna work out. I've seen too many people make it work. And once you get in there with some of these schools, then they always call you to teach, but you never know when it's gonna run dry. So it's kind of a weird spot. But I did pretty well with it. And so I went into my divorce with that. So I had a house to live in, and I also had degrees. I had a master's degree, and I also had the level of being able to teach and being able to be at home. And I had a lot of things working in my favor. So much so, I took on a second master's degree when they were like 5 and 7 years old, and they used to come to class with me and all that kind of stuff. And I say all that to say that during that time, I'm the youngest of 6 children in my family, and my siblings are quite older. Like the youngest to one to me that's in the older group is 7 years older, and then the oldest one is 10 years older. So they were kind of teenagers when I was a little kid. And so my upbringing was a little bit different from theirs, but at the same time too, I I I don't think of it in the sense of the girls' ages being that far apart and that making a huge difference. But I do think of it in the sense of like how you create camaraderie. Like they did a lot of stuff for me growing up. You know what I mean? More than what I even realized until I became a real adult and I started adulting. Like when you have siblings that are that much of a gap for you, they guide you in so many ways. Something worked out for them, they share that information with you. You know, they pretty much help you become an adult. And so when I went through that time period of raising my children, there was like a light switch that went off on me when they were like very young that just said that I wanted to take a different path. I didn't know what path, but I just wanted to do something that felt more organic to the way that I wanted to raise children. And the fact that I was divorced wasn't going to stop me from being a stay at home homeschool mom. And I was going to make sure that I created that lifestyle. And I managed to do it. And sometimes things were skimpy, but I was perfectly okay with that. I was like, no gas today, fine, stay inside. The children like playing in the leaves in the backyard anyway, and it was a day of that. So sometimes I look at that time between 30 and roughly 40 years old, like right before I met my current partner, as being the best years of my life because I learned how to be an adult and I was responsible for 2 little people and I made sure they had everything and I gave every ounce piece of anything that I had to making sure of that. And I still do now. Let me not go into that because I can get emotional. But I mean, I had never pulled out. I never had to do that for anyone because everyone that was close to me came before me. And so it was just an experience that I just hold so dear sometimes. And so I hear myself always referring back to their childhood, even to them. I'm like, remember when you used to do this? Remember when you used to do that? Or you used to live? And they're like, kind of, yeah. And I'm like, those were for you. Those were your years. Half of those years, they don't even remember. But the point was that it's like, with me constantly having this nostalgia about those times, even though they were beautiful, it also puts me in a holding pattern because I'm not able to see that our even better years will be coming ahead of us, right? I just set up 2 trips. For one of them, we're going to Switzerland and France this year with my girls, and we've not traveled internationally together. And then the next year, 2024, for spring break, we're going to Barcelona together. It's their school trips, and I'm going to go with them. And it's a perfect way for me to be able to, fill out these areas with a tour group and all that with the kids. I think it's going to be great. And hopefully my partner, he can come too. But I mean, it's like we're going to create new experiences and there's new heights to reach and there's new things. But in this space, I've really held myself up energetically with thinking about those years as being the best version of me rather than thinking that because of those years, the best version of me stands here right now. You know what I mean? And it's such a realization. Like the best version of you is the current version that's standing right now. It's not the one that showed up back then. All that is building up to the one that continues to evolve and expand and awaken. And it also puts the children in a holding pattern because they're not allowed to grow up properly. I had a parent that would do that a lot. I would say it was my dad. It was always treat me like a little girl. And I was just like, well, I'm not really a little girl. Like I got married, I had kids and everything. We didn't start talking to each other like adults until I was in my 30s when I was like, I'm dropping this facade. It's like I'm a grown woman that's had some grown woman issues. We might have more in common at this point. But I mean, like, it takes a second sometimes for us to see our lives where they are, as opposed to trying to get back to something where we saw that we had a certain kind of peace and freedom. Where today your peace and freedom looks a little bit different. But look at what you've gained by allowing yourself to be in relationship, allowing yourself to be a mother that lets go and that, gives the space for the children's personal growth, even if it doesn't include me. And even not being a person that holds on to grudges, it's created a beautiful type of environment. I was just telling my daughter the other day, I was just like, even when I've wanted to hold grudges with people, I didn't have the bandwidth for it. I'd be like, what was I meant? I'm like, oh yeah, that thing. I know that I've had a general idea, a feeling about people, but as far as a specific grudge because they did this thing to me, I don't think I've ever had the capacity to do that because it's always been what's the next level of growth and expansion. And I think being letting go of your glory days in any sense of the glory days has got to be the first step to seeing where you are now so you can continue to move forward and be beneficial to everyone around you. Like there's no place to get to. And it's so weird in the world. I think we've gotten to a place to where now tradition doesn't even create this cushion for us to receive the things in life that we don't energetically or spiritually deserve. And I hate to say it like that, but it's kind of like that. It's like as a mom in this modern day and age, because I see how easily it is for children to be and do and go wherever they want, right? The only way that you can get a hold on them is to manipulate them in one way or either create a very positive relationship to where they want to be in your space. But you can also have a negative relationship to where they're addicted to your space and they don't even know why, but they don't even feel good around you. And so my goal is to create the one I said in between where the children want to be. And I know that I can't rest upon my laurels. I heard that the other day. I thought that was funny. I can't think that I can just sit here and be just because I'm mom, I'm going to get all this love and attention and affection and something like that when the kids get older, because human beings have a lot of choices there now. And so it's got to be a mutually respectable relationship with your kids. And it's not putting yourself on some low level, it's raising your children up to your level. Because if your level is high, how can it be bad to raise your children up to your level? Now, there are times where you got to put them in their little places. Don't get me wrong. I have 2 teenage girls. I get that part. But what I mean is that there's a high expectation for behavior that even I abide by. And so what I expect from them. And so that continuation of evolving and stuff is what you gain by letting go. And then you can see those moments as that was a cool time, I can't believe we pulled it off. I pulled it off, but y'all were cooperative little kids. Y'all were so well behaved. You used to sit in the back of classrooms and not say a word. You play on your little laptops with your little headphones. I mean, classes where I was learning, they would sit there and do that. Classes where I was teaching, they would do that. And so all that stuff, PhD and master's, is just as much their journey as it was mine, because it was all of their childhood from 1 to 10 years old. And now we've gotten in a place where we can reap the benefits of that rigmarole and that hustle. And sometimes you looking for a struggle because you're so used to one. You're like, where's the fight? Like you're literally going, where's the fight? And your life is like, you got to stop. And so you have to get to those places to where you let go of, yeah, it was a fight. You won every time. You won, like, it was a war and you won like 99% of the battles, right? But that war is over. You have a whole new set of ideals that you need to be working towards. I have children moving towards taking PSATs. I just got a message, and working at a university so that they can get tuition in a a top 15 university in the country. We got whole different perspectives now. So we have to make room for that sort of thing. Otherwise, we're always treating our lives as if our best days were behind us. That's why I don't fantasize youth. I don't hang on to youth. I think youth is beautiful, but I do not feel weird about telling people I'm 43 years old. And I say it everywhere I go, because I'm never going to feel insecure about telling people my age, because I'm grateful to be here, still celebrating this life and doing this thing that we know, what we're conscious of, with the people that I love, and doing things that I enjoy. So yes, I'm always going to say my age, and no, I'm never going to be like, oh, to be 20 again. No, thank you. I'm good. I don't want to be 20. You should have met me at 20. You don't want me to be 20. Anyway, let's let go so we can move forward. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.